Welcome, Carol. Welcome, Esther. Glad you're here. We're going to start in about 1 minute. Carol, it's so good to see your face. And Morel, can people unmute to say things if they want?
They certainly can.
Okay, fantastic. That's great.
But do know that if we do open the mics and the cameras, we will be recording this and it will get posted on Ruzuku and on YouTube. So just be mindful of what we say and anything like that. Just want to protect you all. And I can always also crop things out as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And are we recording now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I think we are going to give it about 1 more minute and then we'll get started. But if you want to write in the chat or just say out loud where you're zooming in from and maybe a reason why you wanted to come tonight or today, whatever time it is where you are, that would be great. And Morel, if you want to read out any of the responses, that would be great. Or Esther, you were about to say something.
Hi,
Hi, welcome.
thank you.
I'm so
Uh,
happy that you're here.
Good to be with you too. So I'm Jane from Ghana. It's currently 11 p.m. Yeah. So I joined as a refresher course and also to meet the community members and to engage and learn more to really start my training from Ghana. Yeah. Thank you.
How wonderful. I'm so happy that you're here with us and from Ghana. It's so special. Thank you for being here. Welcome. So we know that folks may have signed up to have access to the recording afterwards. Just seeing one more thing in the chat. Morel, would you like to read it?
Yes, it was just me saying we're so happy that Esther is here.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. All right. So today's webinar is on holding experiences of perinatal loss and uncertainty with tenderness. And I know both of you already know me, and I know you. I'm so lucky. Um, we also have Morel here tonight. She's our director of marketing, and she's a fantastic community member in mindful birthing and parenting. And Morel also just did her own teacher training with us this past cohort. So welcome. And we may welcome others as we go tonight. And if not, people will also be potentially joining us watching the recording later on. And so I am Jen Moffett, for those of you watching later on who don't know me. I've been teaching mindful birthing, which originated as MBCP, mindfulness based childbirth and parenting, for about 15 years. And I'm our director of training at Mindful Birthing and Parenting Foundation. And I have experienced perinatal loss and uncertainty as a nurse midwife. I've been a nurse midwife since 2003. But also, one of my earliest memories in my life was being about 5 years old and hearing that my yet to be born cousin, whose name was Laura, had died in utero. And I just have a very vivid memory of sitting on the rug in my parents' room and hearing about this baby who I would never get to meet. And so, if we are perinatal professionals, we are confronted with loss. And many people who are watching this webinar could absolutely teach this webinar. And so, just acknowledging that right now, and also knowing that we are coming from the perspective tonight of mindful birthing, and hopefully we'll have a great discussion at the end as well. So welcome. If you're not familiar, mindful birthing is a 9-week childbirth and parenting and mindfulness class that is currently taught by over 500 professionals in over 45 countries. So I want to make some acknowledgments now. This quote from Elizabeth McCracken is the first line in her 2008 memoir. An exact replica of a figment of my imagination is the title of her memoir. And I would like to acknowledge her and so many others who have experienced perinatal loss and uncertainty and have shared their experiences with us. You may be a mindful birthing teacher and you may have experienced someone coming into the classroom with a history of miscarriages, or perhaps maybe you've been teaching a class and someone in the class has experienced a loss. These are really sensitive topics and not uncommon. And so one of the things that I would like for us to do right now is just bring a place to mind that is comforting to you. So maybe closing your eyes, taking a moment now to connect with your breath, if that is accessible, the breath at the belly or at the nostrils. Or maybe connecting with contact points between the hands and the lap, the body and the surface beneath. Knowing that these anchors, this body, this breath, these are always available to you anytime during this session as a place to return to. And alternately choosing an image now that you can return to anytime during this session. Maybe it's an image of a place that has brought you comfort in your life, or a being, a pet, a simple, uncomplicated being, or a place that you love. And it could be an imaginary place. But just bringing that to mind now. Knowing that you can always return here anytime. Touching into this place or connecting with this being for comfort. And also, as Resma Menakem says, you do not need permission to stand up during this webinar, move around, get a drink. Please take care of yourself as we are together in this space tonight. So in terms of acknowledgements, I want to acknowledge Dr. Stephanie Early, who sent me many books on this topic. Also, I want to acknowledge Alan Wolfett, whose work on companioning the bereaved is going to be throughout this webinar. And also a bunch of the websites that are cited in our citations at the end of this slide, including glowinthewoods.com, which is a website where folks with lived experience can post pieces, writings about their experience. So you'll see some of that throughout this presentation too. It is a serious act of generosity for people to share their experience. And so now I'm going to read you just a few pages from this book called Ours, A Story of Loss and Healing. The day Mama and Papa come home from the hospital, there is no baby with them. They seem tired and sad. When I ask Mama where my baby sister is, she tells me that the baby isn't coming anymore. We hug each other tight. Grandma and Grandpa go home. We pack up my old baby things and put them away. I feel empty inside. Friends bring us food and little presents for me, but they don't make me feel better. None of us feel better. And then the next page is just a bunch of pictures. We are playing blocks when I tell Mama and Papa what Grandpa told me about using our hands to help our hearts feel better. That spring, we start a garden. We pick out seeds for the vegetables and flowers we want to grow. We put each seed in its own container with mounds of dirt. It feels good to use our hands. I'm just going to read a couple more pages, not the whole book. We set the containers on the windowsill, give them sunlight and water, and watch them every day. Soon little plants start to make their way out of the containers. Some of the plants keep on growing. Some grow a little bit, then start to wilt. Some never come up out of the dirt. We move the young plants outside to our garden and care for them there. Those plants grow into the vegetables and flowers we had imagined. I wonder about the plants that never came up out of the dirt and the almost plants that stopped growing. We treated all our seeds the same. We gave each of them sunlight and water. And we'll stop there for now. Maybe connecting with the breath, noticing what's here in the body. So here you'll see one of the writings from Glow in the Woods. And then also some facts about how common perinatal loss is. And it's important to me to mention here that we know that there are, at least in the United States, health disparities related to perinatal loss. We know that there are health disparities that potentially are related to folks not being listened to when they have a concern. And we also know that there are health disparities that can be related to stress. including chronic stress and the chronic stress of racism. And so my question for you right now, and I'd love for you to just unmute and speak it into the group, or you can write in the chat and Morel can read it. What makes perinatal loss different from other grieving? So if you think about miscarriages, folks on infertility journeys, a stillborn baby or loss of a baby after birth, how is this different from other grieving in life? We know there are some ways that it is the same, of course. Just feel free to unmute or use the chat. And I can name some too.
I know I'm not a participant, but something that comes to my heart is never meeting them.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that Carol put in the chat, it is a dream of a future that never was, and it is quite invisible to many, so you don't have the community support that is more typical.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. And Esther, did you want to say something too?
Yeah, it's a plan of bringing in life and eventually it turned out to be with a negative outcome. So yeah, it's quite different from the normal one that someone is not well and the person is goes off. But this one, you plan on bringing up a beautiful baby and it just doesn't happen. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So disappointing. It's often assumed that pregnancy and birth are rites of passage and that they're going to happen as planned. And then when they don't, yeah, it's so different from what people expect. Loss of an imagined future, and there may be multiple losses. People coming into our mindful birthing classes having experienced loss in the past and now carrying a healthy pregnancy may carry a lot of anxiety about what if this happens? What if this happens? And parents might be grieving differently from each other. Other thoughts? Folks who have endured a stillbirth may be going through a lot of the postpartum experiences that folks who have given birth to a live baby go through. The breasts lactating and going through stopping that in some way. The bleeding that happens after the birth, the body changing, and the loss of hopes and dreams. So I want to say this, Joanne says, to anyone who understands this kind of ongoing loss. And she's writing as someone who has endured perinatal loss. You are not meant to force yourself into distance from it. You don't have to make it smaller to make it bearable. Let it be what it is. Let it be as deep as it actually is. And our mindfulness practice carries the same approach. We don't have to distance from what is here. When we practice mindfulness, we are growing our capacity for being with whatever is here, no matter how painful or joyful. And so we're quite lucky that Alan Wolfett has come up with these tenets of companioning the bereaved. And he says grief is not an illness, it's the natural and necessary sequel to love. And so I'd love for you to pick one of these 6 tenets on this page. Pick one that strikes you in this moment. And perhaps share why in the chat or by unmuting. And as you look at these tenets, as folks who have trained in teaching mindful birthing, can you see how our own embodiment of our own mindfulness practice would be helpful in companioning those who have experienced a loss? And of course, we know that this loss might have been this month, but it could also have been 7 years ago. And sometimes when we're pregnant, any loss that we've had in the past can come up again. Or as we're teaching mindful birthing, our own pregnancies and birth experiences can arise. So can we also companion ourselves? And here are a few more tenets. Walking alongside, not leading. Curiosity, not expertise. Respecting disorder and confusion, not imposing order and logic. One of my favorite mindfulness teachers, Matthew Brensilver, says, we have this compulsion to imagine that every bit of suffering needs solving. And that obscures something important, which is the irresolvable quality of this human condition. Sometimes the best answer we have, the only answer we have, is love. And so, what does the research say on how mindfulness practice can support us in our bringing tenderness to whatever is here? And so, the next few slides are about a particular meta-analysis of 17 studies on the potential impact of mindfulness-based interventions or mindfulness-based programs on grief. And what those studies showed were reductions in rumination and experiential avoidance and increased self-compassion. Once again, this piece over here in the blue is from Glow in the Woods from that website. So acceptance and non-judgmental awareness, bringing openness and curiosity to this moment, has been shown in the research in this meta-analysis of 17 studies to counteract experiential avoidance. Giving ourselves permission to feel our feelings, to know what is here. Another quote from this study talks about the distinction between primary emotions and secondary cognitive reactivity. And in a minute, I'm going to bring out one of our teachings from mindful birthing that demonstrates this beautifully. But you've probably heard about the two arrows, the first arrow being the raw emotional pain itself, the grief, the waves of sadness or longing. And the second arrow is the judgments, the resistance that can amplify distress. And so if we can uncouple the first arrow from the second arrow, and in mindful birthing, we talk about uncoupling the sensory experience, the physical sensation of pain, and this goes for emotional pain as well. So you might even notice in your body right now where you're feeling, what you're feeling. We often have a sensory experience of emotional pain. So if we can uncouple the sensory experience from the emotional and the cognitive, often, even when we're talking about grief, we are separating the grief itself or the pain itself from the suffering. In the case of grief, for example, I feel an emptiness in my belly. I feel an aching in my chest. That's the first arrow. That's a sensory experience, the emotional experience. The second arrow or the cognitive experience would be, I will always feel like this. And while, of course, it is the case that this loss will always be a part of us when we've experienced a loss, we can make some space from the cognitive distortions, like this will always feel like this, or I cannot do this. And then Kathy has shared here some writing. And also from that meta-analysis, mindfulness can support folks not in suppressing feelings, but instead in disengaging from rigid cognitive loops over and over. Sometimes in the case of loss, folks have ideas about how this might be their fault in some way. Can people's mindfulness practice support them in disengaging from these cognitive loops, from some of these narratives and perseverations that are not as helpful? And then finally, self-compassion. as a resilience factor, being associated with adaptive psychological functioning and reduced self-criticism. And so we'll be practicing some self-compassion here today, soon. I'm just going to take a quick break from sharing my screen to see if there are any comments or thoughts before we continue. Hi, Carol.
I just wanted, I feel so grateful that you are addressing this very human experience. And of course, it's beyond perinatal loss, but this is what life is about. So, anyway, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Carol. Yeah. Sharing my screen again. And of course, there are many resources, and many are listed in the citations at the end of this presentation, but here are a few books that you might check out, and you can find out more in the citation at the end. So another practice that we have in the mindful birthing curriculum is bringing attention to the space in between contractions in a teaching that we call the whiteboard. And when we teach this in our mindful birthing context, we're doing the math and we're talking about how many minutes of pain and 1 hour of labor. And we realize that often in between contractions, there can be rest, ease, an absence of pain. And so then we ask the class, okay, why aren't all your friends who have given birth talking about how incredible the space in between the contractions was? And the answer is, for most people in labor and in life, when we are in between contractions, the mind is going, oh my gosh, that last one was so hard. Oh my gosh, how am I going to get through the next one? Oh my goodness, I can't do this. Missed it. We miss the breaks in between the contractions completely. And of course, this applies to folks, to ourselves, who have suffered any kind of loss or uncertainty, which is all of us, any of us who are human. Sometimes it can be really hard to not be thinking about the last one that happened or the next one that's going to happen. And so when we train in mindfulness, when we train in being right here, right now, then sometimes we can occupy this space of ease, of joy, of moments of freedom from pain. Knowing that, yes, of course, the wave of grief will come again. And then there will be another break, because life is always changing. So let's take a few minutes just to practice together. We have 3 practices to offer today before we move into some discussion. So one of the practices that we offer in mindful birthing, which is also offered in other mindfulness-based practices, is the 3-step breathing space. And we show the hourglass because we start wide with the attention, then narrow it, and then widen it again. And so I will lead us through a 3-step breathing space as soon as I take a sip of water. But maybe you want to take your own sip of water right now, or maybe do a little stretch. Allowing yourself to be human in this moment. And now, one of the things we love about the 3-step breathing space, we teach it as a practice in your pocket. It is a mindfulness practice that you can do in 3 minutes or 30 seconds. You can do it with eyes open or closed. Nobody needs to know you're doing the 3-step breathing space, because you can be at work going along with your day and just do this 3-step breathing space in 30 seconds without anyone knowing. But when we do it now, we'll practice together. And if you'd like to close your eyes to go within, you can. Or you can keep them open, but maybe let your gaze rest gently a few feet in front of you or on this hourglass. So starting with step 1, just noticing what is here right now. What thoughts are here? What emotions are here right now? Resisting the temptation of imagining how things could be, and instead just noticing what is already here. What body sensations are here in this moment? Like checking the weather, just taking stock of what is already here. And now, step 2, narrowing the focus of attention to just this breath. Being with this in-breath at your own pace. Noticing the pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. And then at your own pace, seeing if it's possible to pay attention with one complete out-breath. And then beginning again, like shining a flashlight of attention on breathing in and breathing out. And now, step 3, expanding the awareness around the breath to include the body as a whole, as though the whole body were breathing. Sitting here in the envelope of the skin, complete just as you are. And when you're ready, opening the eyes if they've been closed. Maybe just reviewing, looking at the hourglass and just reviewing the steps. Step 1, what is here? Step 2, this breath. Step 3, this body. And into the next moment of your life. Does anyone want to share what your experience of that practice was? Just making some space for you to take stock. And Morel, do you want to read what's in the chat?
Yes. Carol said self-acceptance.
What a gift. Thank you. So another practice. This is called the AVP method. And it's attributed to Dr. Becky. She's a parenting expert and really a reparenting expert. She's wonderful. And the citation for this method is also in the citations. So the 3-step breathing space we actually teach in mindful birthing. The AVP method is not in the mindful birthing curriculum, but I'm offering some practices that we can use as tools because our own emotions and body sensations will come up when we are companioning, when we are teaching. And so we can practice these practices so that we're more able to companion whatever comes up in the classroom or in our perinatal situation. So let's practice right now the AVP method. And if you'd like to close your eyes to go within, feel free. And I'd like you to bring to mind something in your life that is challenging in this moment. Please not choosing the most challenging or most difficult thing you can think of, but just choosing something that is a little bit challenging in your life right now. And once you have that challenging thing in mind, and it's possible that a few things are coming into your mind, so just picking one in this moment. It doesn't have to be just right, just anyone. And now, where are you feeling that in the body? And what is an emotion that is accompanying that experience as you're thinking about it right now? As you're considering this challenging situation, just acknowledging that emotion right now. Hello, sadness. Hello, shame. Hello, despair. Whatever it is, acknowledging the emotion that accompanies this challenge. And now validating. It makes sense to feel this way. And if you need or want to, you can tell yourself why it makes sense. Of course, I feel this way because not needing to analyze or intellectualize the feeling, but just validating briefly, this feeling makes sense. And now P is for permit. I give myself permission to feel this. It's okay that I'm feeling this way right now. Opening the eyes if they've been closed. And I'm curious how this practice was for you. And Dr. Becky calls this a method. So this doesn't even have to be a practice, but it can be. Would anyone like to share?
At the start of this practice, Esther wrote, noticed some thoughts and feelings without really reacting.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Morel. So, Esther, you were noticing thoughts and feelings without the layer of reactivity that so often accompanies thoughts and feelings. It's profound. Thank you.
Yeah, but that was with the first step in the women's voice practice. But
Yes.
what we did right now, I don't know, but I'm feeling sad.
Right now you're feeling sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feeling sad. It's tears. It's reflecting on the challenging issue in life. Yeah, just allowing myself to feel that way.
Yeah. Esther, thank you so, so much. You're doing this right now. You're acknowledging what is here, the sadness. Maybe you can tell yourself the reason that this makes sense, this feeling in the face of challenges, this feeling of sadness makes sense. Human beings feel sadness. And just giving yourself permission to be feeling this way, knowing that feelings come and go.
Yeah, thank you.
It's hard to hear you right now.
Yeah, sometimes, you know.
Esther, if you are able to type in the chat what you just said, I would love to know. It's a little bit hard to hear you in this moment.
Like I said, it's sometimes hard. Yeah, it's you still have to allow yourself to feel that way because that is it, and that's the situation I have now. There's, you have to love yourself and just be yourself, give yourself that space to be okay, not really
Thank
say
you so much. Say that last part again.
not really like fight over it within, but just stay calm and allow yourself to go through the situation to have that inner sense of peace. I don't know if you, yeah.
Yeah. Esther, thank you so, so much.
Yeah, I think it's regarding my relationship with my husband, and currently he's traveled on here. It got a point as we planned. It couldn't happen like that since it's not coming back, and I'm left with the kids alone. So yeah, sometimes it feels sad, but what can you do? This is it. So with its practice, then I have to go back and reflect on some of the challenges I'm facing, and this is what's popped up, and um, from nowhere I started tearing. But yeah,
Yeah, thank you. And people will come into our classes and they will cry also, right? And a lot of our work as teachers is the work of non-pathologizing. So rather than thinking of tears as a problem, knowing that when we are human, we are going to experience challenges, sadness, and validating. Of course, it makes sense. You feel sad when you're in this situation with your family, of course.
yeah.
And maybe observing how feelings continue to change. Esther, were you going to say something else? I can stop sharing for a second.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good. Thank you.
I'm so honored that you both are here and sharing. Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen for one last practice. And this one is very similar, the rain practice. And we'll do this one in brief, but you can take longer to do any of these practices, longer or shorter. Rain was started by Michelle McDonald and popularized by Tara Brach. And so now, if you feel like practicing with rain, you can. I'll lead you through it very briefly. And if not in this moment, maybe also giving yourself the choice of going to your own anchor, the breath or the body, or going to that place that's comforting, or place in your memory or in your imagination, your choice. So closing the eyes if you feel comfortable. And maybe just being with those same feelings, that same challenging situation you're already working with IVP or AVP. Or perhaps choosing a different challenge. Again, not choosing the most difficult thing in this moment is the suggestion. But we'll just run through a different acronym in relation to this situation. The acronym of RAIN. Recognize is the R. Recognize what's happening inside you right now. What is here? Are tears here? Where is there comfort or discomfort in the body? What emotions are here? Just allowing. The A in RAIN is allow. Allowing whatever is here. Breathing with it. Letting it be, whatever it is. And the I, investigate. investigating the texture of this particular grief. Getting curious. If you were a scientist, how would you explain the physical sensations that you're experiencing right now? And now nurture. Perhaps by saying to yourself, it's okay, sweetheart, it's okay. Sadness is like this now. And honey, it's okay. Inviting you to take the deepest breath you've taken all day. Maybe letting yourself stretch, opening the eyes if they've been closed. And now we'll take the last couple of minutes for any discussion. Of course, our citations are here too.
Hey, Jen, I just wanted to say I'm going to make you the host really quickly, just in case I have to hop off at a time.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. And I was going to say, since you said that the slides were like they could use these slides, I can make a template version so they can fill this in with what they feel aligned with, but we can share this slide deck with the community if that.
Fantastic.
Great.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Morel, so much.
Yes, thank you.
Does anyone want to share anything about something that you'll take away from today or anything you noticed in that last practice or any of the practices?
I'll say happy to be here. Happy to see you all once again. The practice has really helped me boost my confidence, really go back to practice and really learn more. Again, it has made me see more calm and relaxed compared to when we started. So now, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. I'm so happy to be with you again. Such a pleasure that you came here tonight. Thank you. And you in the middle of the night. I know it's after midnight now where you are, or just about midnight.
Yeah, just about.
Thank you for being here. And we may have, dozens of other folks who registered for the webinar who will be watching at all times of day. And just much gratitude to anyone who is taking in and exploring this content at any time of day, synchronously or asynchronously. You are so welcome. Thank you. So as our time together comes to a close, may the learning and practice that we've had here today be of benefit to ourselves, our families, our communities, and may the ripples extend further than we can see. Thank you so much for joining us. And our next webinar will be on August 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We hope to see you there. Take good care, everybody. Carol, so good to see your face.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Esther. Thank you for being here. Bye, Carol. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.